Good evening, adventurers, and welcome back to the Maze. This is MazeCast number 11. Yes, I got it right this time. I checked with the apprentice before we hit the record button.
Yep.
Well, we'd like to welcome you all back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We hope that you will stick around. We hope that you will like and subscribe, and you will share this with your friends. If you are somebody who's been with us for a while, thank you for coming back and returning. Please share, like, subscribe, do all of those bell things. We would really appreciate it. We do appreciate your continued support. That's what keeps us going. So let's jump right into things. What is new? I think we would like to thank our sponsor, wouldn't we, Stephen?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Special thanks to old Dubby there. My cup's upstairs. I've already had my 2 energy drinks today, so I'm not trying to be up till 1 a.m. But thanks to Dubby for the sponsor. They have some awesome flavors. My favorite recently has been the s'mores, which at
Oh,
first I
s'mores are
wasn't sure how
amazing.
to do, but if you mix it with some milk, or for, like if you just want to drink it in the afternoon or throw it in your coffee in the morning, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so check them out. They're great. I mean, what I love about their supplements is that they're most energy drink supplements are like 30 days worth, and W usually errors around 45 to 50 days for the same
Yep.
price, usually cheaper actually.
Yep.
So use our code. It's in the it'll be in the description. It'll be in the thumbnail. It'll be in a picture up here somewhere. Master of Mazes.
Yep.
Get that 10% off.
One of these
Um,
corners.
every single cent that we make goes right back into the project. So special thanks to Dubby for that, for looking out for us. And I mean, they were early, right as we started the site. They were
Yeah.
jumping in. So
Maze Cast 1. They were
yeah, I
already
mean they were
sponsoring us.
already there. So appreciate them. So anyway, check them out. There'll be a link everywhere.
Definitely good stuff. So thanks, Dubby. We appreciate it. So what's new over at Instagram? We talked about this a little bit in our last Maze Cast. We are doing a 31 days of Halloween posts. So every day we're doing a new monster. Kind of talking about that monster a little bit, why I believe it's a good fit at your table, and then if it's not something that's common, I'm providing a stat block for it, just like we do over on our website when we do our monster blog posts. So check that out. We're also doing those special monster posts over at our website,
Hmm.
mastersmaze.com. I did one for the Wendigo
Yep.
recently, which was really cool. It's got a great write up blog post over there if you want to check it out.
Hmm.
And I also plug a book where I first read about it and a little bit about the history and lore of the creature. So, stat block over there for it if you're interested. I think it would make a great monster for like a 1 or 2 shot campaign for some new players.
Hmm.
Other than that, we are going to jump right into things here. We've got some RPG, TTRPG news. We just completed our Halloween 2 shot 5e campaign that I ran for some friends. They called me up and said, "Hey, we'd really like to do a campaign with our, a short campaign, a little 2 shot Halloween theme for with our son. Their son Mason's 12." And after talking to them, kind of finding out what is and is not on the table as far as horror and themes, we came up with a great little thing where I went online, found a game, and purchased it from Drive Through Comics called Terror at Devil's Run, and it's basically a pumpkin themed creature that is using pumpkin themed monsters to kind of terrorize a town. So we had a lot of fun with that. The write ups, the recaps for both episode 1 and episode 2 are up at our website. So we will have links for those in the description so you can check those out. Um, Upcoming 5e games. The apprentice wanted to know what we had in store for 5e games. Right now, to be honest with you, we don't have a lot. Our 5e campaign that had been running for almost 3 years came to an abrupt halt due to some toxicity at the table. I will be doing a blog post and another maze cast at some point in the near future on toxic players at your table and the impact that they can have on your game. This particular incident ended a 3 year campaign, which I'm not very happy about. But I mean, these things happen. People are people, right? So um, I just have to be better at vetting my players in the future. But nothing for 5e right now. I did try to salvage that game with the 3 players that are still at the table. But the impact it had on the 1 player was so significant that they don't want to play that character anymore. So, what we are looking into is we got our copy of Daggerheart. So, I'm about 150 pages into reading it and familiarizing myself with the rules. I see some things I like. I see some things that I probably won't use at my table, and there's some things I think could use some tweaking. But we are planning for mid-November for a session 0. We're going to probably do a 3 or 4 session game, just kind of test it out, see what the players think, see if it's something that they enjoy, uh, and if it's something they want to continue with. If not, we will switch to another game system like Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons. But that's what we've got on the immediate horizon for play at the table.
Let me ask you a
Uh,
loaded question here.
sure.
Out of what you've read so far, what is the most positive change you've seen in the Daggerheart book? Like, is there anything in there that you saw and you're like, wow, that's way better than typical 5e D&D? Is there anything in there that seems like that?
So the one thing that I like right now, just from what I've read,
Mm.
is the fact that you kind of lean heavily on your players to kind of help build the narrative for the story. Okay, so with D&D, you get role play,
Mm-hmm.
and then you allow your characters to make their background stuff like that. But with this, you get your players at the table to help you paint a picture. Like I would say as the game master, okay, you walk into the square, it's bustling with activity. There is lots of noise everywhere that you look, and then you would look at a specific player and engage them. Hey, Paladin, I'd like you to explain to me what it is that you see that immediately draws your attention and why.
Mm.
That way, they kind of spin something into the narrative that would be specific for their player,
Mm.
and you kind of put the spotlight on them. They like to use the term putting the spotlight on your players, and I like that because that way I can lean on those players as a DM to give me a little bit of information that I can either weave into the narrative or I can use as a hook in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that aspect of cooperative narrative and storytelling. So I think that's something that I think will be great at the table. It will also be a tool that I can put into my tool belt to help me get players who are a little more quiet at the table, a little more introspective,
Mm.
kind of bring them out of their shell and kind of put them in the spotlight where they can help paint the narrative and see if I can't get them to be a little more forthcoming at the table. So
That's
pretty
interesting.
excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of just talking about that before you even read that book about how we believe in that style of play where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily dog walking your players and kind of letting them add some ambiance and some of the flair themselves. That I think that just makes people way more invested in a story, and
Right,
it makes it not feel so linear. Where
right.
it's like, okay, well, Carl says this, this, and this, and I have to do this because my character is this, and like giving player agency is always good. I would argue
Mm-hmm.
there is a fine line, and there's like too much player agency where they can kind of
Right,
run a game off the rails, as
right.
we know. But
Yeah,
I think that just enough player agency is that's kind of what separates a good DM from a great one, right? Is like
right.
how much is too much versus just enough, and are you not giving them like enough control? It's a fine line, and I think that takes probably years to learn, maybe a lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I would say it's a little bit of both, right? You
Mhm.
you have to you find out early on that you have to kind of strike a balance between how much control you want to give at the table to your players,
Mhm.
and then how much control that you need to maintain to make sure that your game moves forward in a positive direction.
Yeah.
But that being said, you also have to tailor that to your table.
Mhm.
I've had tables before that we had one player that was constantly cheating on his dice rolls, and then you would catch him and you would correct him and you would admonish him. And so you can't have that.
Mhm.
That's not fair to the other players that they're being held to their roles and you're cheating. Um, Up to where I've had tables that basically run themselves. I'm just
Mhm.
kind of there listening and, adding encounters and things like that
I think
where the
that's
table,
yeah, that's kind of perfect scenario.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I've uh I've heard just in corporate America world, because that's pretty much what I do now. I've heard somebody describe, a good manager is somebody that sets boundaries, but if they're a good manager, you never really find them, right? They're way out
right,
here, way out in the woods somewhere, and you never really run into them. And it's
right,
like, but they are there, right? So they're gonna
right.
keep people from going off the reservation. However, um, if you're constantly running into walls and running into things that make you kind of stop and lose your immersion, it's like that's a sign of too many rules and too many
Right.
things like that. But it's like they should be out there to kind of corral the overall experience
Right.
into one cohesive narrative, right? So
Right.
anyway, I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what I've heard a lot of really cool things about Daggerheart myself, just in my very cursory look at some of
Mhm.
the people online. A lot of what I hear is like the things that are favorable over D&D are very favorable, and then there's things
Right.
that they're just not really for people. I think this will be one of those things that people take what they want out of it and keep moving, and I think that's kind of
Right.
the perfect way to treat new material, right? I think people are being pretty critical of like a new IP. I mean, this is, from what I understand, an entirely new IP, right? This is not
Right.
so I think people get really defensive if they've played the same game for 20 years to see something new come. Like Pathfinder was the same way. Like when it came along, people were like, "Whoa, whoa!" Like, but now
Yeah.
it's like looked at as a very worthy competitor, right? And I think if you
Right.
give Critical Role enough time, I mean, they obviously have the passion for the game and for the content. I think they can probably meld out at least a solid third option in tabletop. Where right
Yeah.
now there really is only two. It's D&D or it's Pathfinder if you're serious. And there's a lot of small stuff out there, but those are the big
Yeah.
ones. And I think they can carve
I
out
mean,
a spot.
those are the two big bullies on the playground, right?
Right? Why
I
not
mean,
have a
there's other
third?
games.
Why not have a third one?
You, I mean, you've got 13th Age,
Hmm.
you've got Blades in the Dark, you've got Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark is a big contender now.
Yeah.
Um,
World of
kudos to
Darkness,
Kelsey
baby.
Dion. Yeah, kudos to Kelsey Dion. She made a heck of a game. Wish her all. She deserves all the success she's gotten.
Well,
Um,
speaking of a
but
playground, that's a tough playground to be on, man. I mean, the two big
yeah,
bullies are Paizo and WoTC. It's like, dude, you're like you're you're in the corner fighting for your
yeah,
life, you know?
yeah, you really are. So let's talk about some other news that we've talked about recently. I just did a short on it.
Hmm.
Um, and it's basically Dan Ayoub posted on X recently that he was excited to welcome some folks home. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. We posted it on our video. We'll post a link to that video in the show notes below, where I did do a short video on it earlier this last week, where Dan Ayoub said that one of the things he wanted to do when he got back into the chair was to bring some folks back into house. And he said, I want to welcome these folks into, specifically home. And his quote was, there are great things in the future. The people he was talking about, obviously, as most of you probably already know, is Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman, the two authors of the very much beloved, very much acclaimed Dragonlance series of books, as well as the modules that were put out. You had some great work from Clyde Caldwell as the artist, and I mean, we basically got an entire campaign rolled out of it, right? You got the world of Kryn, and I mean that spawned a cartoon. It wasn't a great cartoon, but it was a cartoon. And then along comes Joe Manganiello, who is a huge fan of Dragonlance. His character Arcane the Cruel is from Dragonlance, and he worships Takisis, who's also kind of Tiamat in Kryn. Um, and he was basically pushing really hard for a Dragonlance television series. WotC had kind of bought into it. They were going to use Hasbro was going to use their studio company, their studio arm, One Studios, as kind of the people to kind of launch that. So there was huge talks about it, and then it just kind of died on the vine. Hasbro sold off One Studio after they made the most recent D&D movie, Honor Amongst Thieves, and so there was nowhere for them to go with that. So that kind of went away. And then in 2023, there was the unpleasantness of Wise and Hickman having to sue WotC. So it really surprised me to see them sitting at a table in WotC headquarters in Washington State, where they met with Dan Ayoub, and apparently he's welcoming them home, and apparently looking at doing something in the future with them. Is it going to be Dragonlance? I mean, that's where my money is. If you have Joe at the table with Tracy and Margaret, my guess is it's going to be something to relate it with Dragonlance. I'm hoping so. Fingers crossed. I would love to see a new campaign book or a new box set. I love the world of Dragonlance. I was actually That's where I got my start, was with the Dragon trilogy, and I knew about Kryn long before I knew about Faerun. So I would definitely love to see them do something with that.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the news there. So like I said, we'll have the link in our show notes where you guys can check out my little blurb on it with the picture of all of them together at WotC headquarters and Dan Ayoub's X tweet. So you can see that. I guess it's still a tweet. Is X a tweet? Twitter was a tweet. I don't know. Whatever it is. So we've got some news about Old Mana. We've talked about the Old Mana card game. Our friend Indi, who is in Germany, has reached out to us to let us know that he is getting pretty close to being done with the game. He's just kind of stuck on how he wants to market it. So he reached out to Steven and myself and said, hey, I want to see what your thoughts are. And I told him, I said, well, I'm going to lean on The Apprentice for that because he is more in tune with the collectible card game market than I am since I got out of it in the 90s. But yeah, definitely we're going to give him some feedback, and we'll keep you guys in the loop on where he's going to go with that.
So he's obviously, he knows way more about this stuff than we do. That's why he's doing it and we're not. But I will say the fact that he's even thinking about what's best for the consumer when he's doing this. His main concern isn't, how to do it in the sense of logistics, but it's really how best to do it where the consumer is going to get the most for their money and they're going to get what they expect out of it right away. I won't stay too much on that, but I will say, he's thinking it through for the right reason. It's not to, how can I get the most money out of this possible? He's doing it because he wants people to be excited, but also feel like they've gotten their money's worth out of it. Because, to be totally honest, the dude's working his ass off.
He is.
We're going to keep eyes on him.
One of the reasons we continue to bring him up and bring up his card game here is because, like us, he's very community minded. He wants to do what's right for the community, as well as put out a product, right? So he has his head in the right place. We appreciate that. So we are going to do all we can to support him in that endeavor. So
we believe in it. We believe in it.
As we get more news on that, we will let you guys know. So
and to spin off of and to spin off of that, talking about cards. Recently, I've been following kind of a continuing, I don't know if you want to call it a story or a narrative or kind of a sequence of events, but coming off of Old Mana, we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering and how it seems like there's just this huge spike of what's called Universes Beyond in Magic the Gathering, which is their expansions that are looking at other IPs outside of the original planes of Magic the Gathering for expansion sets. And how it's kind of crept from, they're kind of peppered through the releases to now it seems like they compete and sometimes are winning in how many releases per year there are. And a guy that I follow, again, I have a very on the border understanding of collectible card games. I kind of dabble in them a little bit. I don't really get too deep into them, but I do like to keep relatively current. And obviously Magic is the Wizards game, and it's probably the juggernaut of card games. It has been for a long time. And really my two the two people I follow the most for just kind of overall knowledge of what's going on is Meat Canyon or Papa Meaty Magic. They have a Magic the Gathering channel now, which is hilarious. And then on a more serious note, Tolarian Community College, which is, they're awesome. Their info is crazy. Their just overall knowledge of the sets and how things work is great. And he's been releasing videos recently of like, there's not going to be a Magic the Gathering set, I think, until February, and until then we have like 6 Secret Lair drops. And where this is going, where this is spinning off of, is we've brought up multiple times how WoTC's going in the direction of franchising. They want to franchise the D&D name. They want to franchise the IP out. And I feel like, it's going to be interesting over the next couple years if we start getting players' handbooks and monster manual. Like, imagine, like, next week a monster manual dropped and it was for, like, the Marvel universe. But it was like a D&D monster manual.
Right.
That is the reality for Magic the Gathering. So, like, in the next couple years, like, you could see things, maybe not that wacky yet, but in that direction. I mean, again, they started small. I guess small in air quotes, but they started, Lord of the Rings and stuff. Like, people that were Magic fans were probably Lord of the Rings fans. So they saw that and they were like, "Oh, that's cool."
Oh, Lord of the Rings makes sense, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's a fantasy setting.
And it fits into, if you're playing a game of Commander Magic the Gathering, and somebody's commander is like, I don't know. Yeah, but like somebody's playing a traditional Magic set and then your commander's Sauron, it doesn't feel weird. But if we're playing a game of Commander and you're playing one of the Planeswalkers and then I play Spider-Man or I play SpongeBob SquarePants, which that might sound ridiculous. That is legitimately,
It's not.
it's all like it's they've have cards that you can go look up now. So I guess my question to you, since you're more D&D oriented than me, what does this signal? Maybe this whole franchising thing, it just seems like it's going to follow the same footsteps. I hope I'm wrong, because it almost seems like more wrong to release like a tabletop player's handbook or something that is just like obscene, like ridiculous.
Right. So recently, I watched Nerdarchy. He's one of the people I follow on YouTube. I've been following him for a while. He basically went over WoTC's earnings statements, or Hasbro's earnings statements.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, one of the things they crowed about was Magic the Gathering, how well it's doing. Well, let's face it, Magic the Gathering has been doing well for a while. I mean, it's been around for over 30 years. It's a big money maker for Hasbro. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, I mean, of course they're going to crow about it, right? When you're talking in front of the people, your shareholders, about how well you're doing, one of the things you want to crow about is one of your flagship IPs. That's Magic the Gathering. Um, the thing is it's two different things. Okay, it's a card game, so we bringing in sets. We're going to do Lord of the Rings. We're going to do Sword and Sorcery from the 80s. Maybe we do a Conan set or whatever. Okay, that kind of makes sense. It's in the same genre. It's a card game, so you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
comparing apples to apples. Is that model, that the franchise model, going to work for D&D? I don't think so. I mean, you can't take what makes Magic the Gathering a juggernaut in collectible card games and then apply that same formula to something like Dungeons and Dragons and think that it's going to work the same way and you're going to get the same level of success.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that's what they think, it just goes to show that all of these people sitting at the top seats of WotC and Hasbro are basically a bunch of people that migrated over from Microsoft. You don't know what you're doing. You know, that's my fear. Is when Chris left, and we had the change of the command seats at WotC. I think that you took people that loved the game, played the game, had a game at their table consistently for years, people who have a vested interest in the game, and you replace them with executives who don't play the game. I think that you are putting yourself in jeopardy of losing focus on what makes D&D work. Um, I'm willing to basically give it a chance, see what they do with it. Um, I'm not going to buy the 2024 books. I've never made any allusions to the fact that I might. I have no interest in the 2024 books. If I catch them on sale at Ollie's or something, I'll buy them just so I have them. But um, there's really nothing in them that interests me. And if they start franchising and doing crazy things like, oh, here's a book for Dragon Ball Z. Now you can play a Saiyan in the D&D
I mean,
universe.
and that sounds crazy, but that's what people that played Magic thought
Yeah,
5 years ago.
I don't
And
want to see that. I don't
and
want.
like
And it may fly at some tables. Some people may love that, and that's fine.
mhm.
I'm a big proponent of whatever works at your table, whatever makes you and your players happy. Do it.
Mhm.
If it means throwing the rule book out the window, throw the rule book out the window. If it
Yeah.
means taking bits and pieces from other systems and making an amalgamation that works at your table, do it.
Mhm.
But I can tell you right now, I have no interest in it. Um, I wouldn't support it, and I definitely wouldn't talk about it on this channel.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So,
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
um,
It's just it's one of those things where like you have a clear comparison to an in-house brand. And all this talk of franchising and stuff, it's like, oh boy. But it is two very different teams that are running, the different shops of D&D and Magic, so it could be completely like a missed, it could be a bad comparison. But I'm hoping it is, because I can tell you right now, a lot of the people that play Magic are not having a good time. I mean,
right,
the last Legacy set was really cool when it was the space themed one, and a lot of people were really happy with it. And then, like, to hear, oh, you like that one? Good. Well, there's going to be 4 out of the universe expansions, and you're not going to get another Legacy expansion until February. And it's like,
right.
Oh, that just feels kind of bad. You know, like imagine your favorite game
Yeah.
drops an update and then they're like, "Oh, you like that update? Well, there's going to be 6 updates that break the game. See you next year." It's like, "Oh."
Well,
you know.
I mean, they kind of did that with 2024, right?
Mhm.
They put out the monster manual before they put out the DM's guide or the player's handbook.
Mhm.
So you're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. So I mean, you really need that dungeon master's guide to drop first, so your dungeon masters can
Can prep and
familiarize
stuff.
themselves with the new rules and start prepping.
Mhm.
Player's handbook should come next, so players can start prepping and getting ready. You know, a dungeon master can take 2014 monsters, convert them to 2024 rules to use until you get the monster manual. But no, you get the monster manual first, then the dungeon master's guide follows a few months later, and finally in December, we'll get the player's handbook. Okay, we got the player's handbook now. Um, but now you've got the Faerun books coming out. You know, the Dungeon Master's Guide for Faerun, the Player's Handbook for Faerun, um, with more subclasses. I think there's 7 or 8 new subclasses in the new Player's Handbook. I just in a game that's already heavy with subclasses, you're adding more subclasses. So it just gets to a point where too much is just too much.
Mhm.
It's you know, and it's almost like we're trying to follow that Warhammer model now. Let's just keep selling you stuff. We'll make a whole bunch of new stuff. We'll put it in a book. Now we got to sell you a new book, and now that book is $60.
Yeah.
So
Well, that kind of goes
yeah,
back to like the same kind of concept and when we were talking about like a D&D's role or a dungeon master's role is to have limits but make them almost unseeable, like just kind of make it
right.
an organic experience. Whereas, like, I feel the same way about, we were talking about player agency. I do believe a player should kind of be able to find a class and a subclass and a character style that fits to them. But if there's 40 subclasses that could fall under the rogue class, how much of
Mhm.
that, like, that's like having a Dorito, like the Doritos brand, and they have 55 different nacho cheese flavored Doritos. And all of them
Right.
are 0.01% different flavor. Well, do they really matter, or should we just have 5 that are very distinct? And then,
Right.
like, players can kind of work, their own method to be like, oh, well, I'm kind of like, there's only 5, but this one's me because of this, and this thing that I've added as flavor. And then you're done. So, like, it just
Right.
seems like when it gets too noisy and there's, like, all these subclasses, it's almost like, man, I wish they'd used that extra time they had to make all these subclasses to add things that would impact the game in a more meaningful way.
Or fix your errata. You know, you've got rules that don't work. They're called to your attention on D&D Beyond.
Mm.
Fix those rules. Spend your time and energy there. Um, Put out modules. You know, I don't mind spending money on a module if you spend the time, if you take the time to put into a good game model. And I'm not talking about a box set. Okay, box sets are fine, but back in the day, one of the things that made TSR great is I could walk into a Toys R Us. There's my player's handbook. There's my dungeon master's guide. There's my monster manual. But here's 10 different modules for levels 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, whatever. I could go in, I could pick up one of those modules, look at the cover. Do I like it? This looks like this would be fun at my table. And take that home and run it. And people would think it's great. You know, I have a bunch of them sitting over here on my shelf right now. B2, The Lost City. I've got the Desert of Desolation trilogy. All great novel, all great modules. Very distinct art, very distinct storylines. You could run them as a one shot. You could run them as part of an existing campaign. Things like that, I'm totally online with buying. But I don't know. We'll see what they do with this franchise thing. We'll
Also,
keep our finger on the
you said Toys R Us. Shout out Toys R Us. They're coming back.
Yeah, well, let's see if they can do it right this time.
I hope so,
Toys
man.
R Us for me was a big thing when I was a kid. Before I knew about local game shops, I was buying my D&D stuff at Toys R Us
Dude,
because you walked
it
in
was
and
the best.
there was a spot right there for them.
I still
So
remember that one that you and I went to as a kid, and I remember pre-ordering my first Pokemon game there. It was the best, man.
it was awesome.
Mm.
So yeah, but anyway, let's jump into some Kickstarter news. Our friend John is sent us some information about a game he's working on. We talked about his Kickstarter before, the Veil of Winter, which is going to be a 4 book setting, kind of a frozen setting, kind of very akin to Icewind Dale and Faerun. So we're looking for that Kickstarter to start soon. When it does, we'll let you guys know. We've posted the link to the Kickstarter before, but we'll go ahead and drop it in the show notes again for you if you're interested. It looks very interesting to us. Stephen and I both are very excited about it, so we will be backing that when that comes out.
Hmm.
But he did drop over on Instagram this past week that he has sent his book for the Veilborn Universe. He's working on a Veilborn handbook for players. He has sent it off to his editor to look over. So I asked him, hey, give me some bullet points. What is it about the Veilborn universe? The homebrew universe. What is it about this TTRPG that's going to set it apart from other TTRPGs that are already out there? If I'm a player and I know nothing about it, give me some bullet points that would get me interested. So he sent me a few things I'd like to read off and share with you guys. So basically, this is set in a place called the Broken World, bound by song. In Tallhaven, all life flows from the loom, a cosmic resonance of threads and melodies shaped by Zuriel, the goddess of fate. Magic is not learned, it is felt, sung, and shaped by harmony. Pretty interesting. Grim beauty, soft resistance. The world is scarred by ancient calamities and distant gods. It's grim, gritty, and dark, full of quiet defiance. Stories of hope, love, sacrifice, and found family stitched into the brutal and mythical landscape. So it sounds like it's a little bit of a dark setting, which I'm okay with. I like Dark Sun and D&D. I like Ravenloft, the realms of horror. That dark, kind of gritty setting kind of appeals to me, especially if you're looking for more of a horror-based game. Magic reimagined from the ground up. His resonance system replaces traditional Vatican magic with weaves of Thyra, receptive, and Vera, assertive, allowing for shaping through emotion, intent, and strain. So it sounds like to me that you can basically take emotions or songs and kind of shape your magic. So that, to me, as a DM, sounds exciting because I can tell a player, okay, tell me what you're trying to do with your magic and what does that look like when you do it. So it kind of allows the players to kind of flavor their magic. No gods will save you, but you might save each other. The gods are real, but they are distant. They are locked in an eternal battle against the Outer Five, ancient entities of unfathomable wrongness and eldritch madness. Mortals don't beg for miracles, they become them. So I like that fact that it sounds like, while gods exist, they're not there every day to grant your cleric spells and abilities to pull your fat out of the fire. It's kind of on you to become a hero. So I kind of like the sound of that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not necessarily low magic, but maybe low divinity. So that definitely sounds like it's interesting. Definitely different from what you see in TTRPGs now. The veil is not a mirror; it is a wound. Once the ethereal plane, the veil is now a corrupted echo of the world, scarred by ancient betrayals and the rot of the five seeping through. Veil scars twist flora and flesh alike, and stepping through it is as dangerous as it is awe-inspiring. So I kind of picture that when I read that, I kind of picture the Feywild gone wrong. Maybe almost like the Shadowfell, where, it's a twisted version of our world, but it's been scarred, it's been damaged, and the things that are there, instead of being beautiful and magical like you would see in the Feywild, maybe they're corrupted and evil. So that sounds kind of exciting. I like where that's going. Legend is earned, not given. The heroes of this world aren't chosen ones. They are wanderers, survivors, lovers, outcasts, and dreamers who shape fate by standing up when no one else will. So I like how this sound, it has kind of an epic sound feel to it, kind of like players. You're not necessarily adventurers just going out seeking fame and fortune. You're kind of people like the Wheel of Time. People who are the right people in the right place at the wrong time. And they kind of have the need to be a hero thrust upon them. So I kind of like the sound of that. So some pretty exciting things coming from our friend John over with the Veilborn Universe. We will keep you guys posted on that as more develops and we get more news from him. It seems like he's really interested in making this work and getting it out to people in the community so they can take a look at it and see what they think. But we'll keep you posted. Sounds exciting. We're excited. Hopefully you will be too. So some other topics. Stephen wanted to talk about some movies. Stephen, why don't you lead us off with what you've been watching?
Yeah. So of course, it's Halloween, so I've been watching horror movies constantly. One that I haven't gotten out to see, but I hear incredible things about is Black Phone 2. Black Phone 1 was one of those movies that was it's got Ethan Hawke in it. He plays the antagonist. And most people probably remember the trailer if they saw it. He's like a magician looking guy. He's got like a pale face, and he kidnaps kids, and he has the black balloons that he has with him to lure him close. The first movie was very cool. It was like semi-realistic, semi paranormal, where the other kids that have been kidnapped as well kind of talk this kid through how to escape from the afterlife. They're deceased, and they kind
Right.
of they help this kid escape. And at the end, spoiler, but this movie's a few years old. Well, he does end up killing the kidnapper,
Hmm.
gets away, and that movie came out like a while back. So when I saw the second movie was coming out, I was like, well, first of all, that's cool because the first one was good, but how is there a
Hmm.
second movie?
Right.
And it's gone full paranormal, and now basically Ethan Hawke's character, the kidnapper, has decided to hunt this guy, this who's now grown. The kid has grown up, and he's obviously still very jacked up from what happened to him in the first movie. And his spirit comes back as like a revenant after this kid, and it's almost taking like the hints of like a Dream Warriors from Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Right.
And
Right.
basically, like when the kid's getting attacked, other people are just looking at him like, "Dude, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you rolling around on the ground?" And really, he sees the kidnapper, who's like way more demonic, and the mask he would wear is now melted onto his face, and he's
Oh.
very evil. And people basically, a lot of people went to this movie not really expecting much. Like, this seems like a cash grab on like kind of a sleeper hit from a few years ago.
Hmm.
Everyone that I've seen online and in real life that has seen it say it ramps it up to like 15, and
Okay.
like it does a lot of really fun things with it. It leans heavily into its paranormal side, and it kind of ditches away some of the hyper realism of the first movie, but
Hmm.
just they say it's very good. So I'm excited for that. I mean, the first movie I feel like kind of flew under the radar even after people said it was good, and it kind of just didn't get. Me and my friends still can't believe how many people we tell about the first movie, and they're like, "What is that about? What is it?" And
Yeah.
so I'm glad they got a second movie, and I'm glad they kind of, instead of just making it like a retcon or something, they go a different direction. So it's pretty cool.
Sounds good. I'll definitely have to check that one out. I saw Black Phone a while back when it first came out. That was good. I did not know they'd made a second movie. So I'm going to talk about a movie called Where, WER. This is a French werewolf movie that came out in 2013. Never heard of it. I just happened to be on, checking out some different YouTube content creators and what movies that they were recommending for Halloween. And I came across one that said, there's 10 must see Halloween werewolf movies. Of course, I've seen most of them, but then he brought up this movie called Where, which the trailer part that he showed about a 20, 25-second trailer, kind of some scenes that he cobbled together for it. Looks amazing. So basically, it's kind of a different spin on the werewolf legend. This guy is kind of a drifter, kind of like a homeless guy, almost like a wild man of Borneo type thing, where he's shaggy, he's dark, he's dirty. He's brought in as a murder suspect, and his lawyer finds out that apparently he is a werewolf. There's no full transformation. It seems to me that this seems to be more of kind of like body posture and attitude and the way that the actor is playing this creature, where he's just kind of dark and brooding, but then he goes almost feral. His body posture change. He seems to get bigger. Um, and he attacks people very much like a werewolf would, with tooth and claw. So it's what I saw looks pretty interesting. I've got it in my queue to watch, so I definitely want to check that out. But I wanted to suggest that to those of you who like werewolf movies, especially horror movies. This looks like a good one. The fact that it came out in France kind of flew under Americans' radar, but it definitely looks like it's worth checking out. So give that one a look. We'll have a link down in the show notes for it, as well as for Black Phone 2. We wanted to talk a little bit about the Mighty Nine. The apprentice and I were talking, and he asked if it was out yet. It is not out yet. It will be out on Amazon on November 19th. This is basically Critical Role's campaign number 2. It ran for about 3.5 years, 141 episodes. I fell off, to be honest with you, about halfway through. I just, I'm a big proponent. If I'm going to watch a live action role play or a stream of somebody's table and their game, I want it to feel organic. I want it to feel, I guess, more realistic. Uh, Critical Role was very much that in campaign number 1, back when they were playing in like a high school biology lab. They didn't have professional sound, they didn't have professional lights or cameras. It didn't feel scripted, it felt very organic, very, very realistic to me. I think that as they've gotten bigger and more popular, it has become more of a production. They have writers, they have professional cameramen, professional sound guys, professional lighting people.
That kind of makes it like
And
more. It's not as relatable, right? Whereas like the other
yeah,
stuff, it felt like you were kind of a part of it still, and then when it
well,
becomes
it,
like a AAA thing, it's like, well, I can't really relate to anything
right,
that's going on.
exactly. Perfect word, relate.
Mm-hmm.
It was campaign one was very relatable because if you've ever been at a table watching campaign one was very much like watching people that you knew play or
Was
memories
campaign
from your
one
play.
Vox Machina, like the show
It was
that was the
Vox
show.
Machina. Yes,
That
yes, it was
show is
Vox
that
Machina.
show is incredible.
It was good, and the show is very realistic to what the gameplay was. But campaign two became very production based, very large, very popular, and to me, it kind of got away from its roots. And I get it, they became more of a production. They were making a lot of money off of it, so I can't
Mm-hmm.
blame them. I have absolutely no animosity or jealousy in my heart for them. Congratulations to them, but for me, it's not what I want to see when I watch a game.
Right.
I watch smaller games like Coffee and D&D and people like that because when they're playing, it feels very realistic and very similar to what I experience at my own table.
Mm-hmm.
It's relatable, so that's why I watch those. But campaign two will be coming out in the form of the Mighty Nine. I'll probably tune in and check it out because I did really enjoy Vox Machina. And it animated. I can I can kind of take that relatable thing off the table when I'm watching an anime. So, Stephen wanted to talk a little bit about some games. We have talked in the past about the Worlds of Darkness, but Stephen, you wanted to talk a little bit more about Vampire.
Yeah, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, the game that's been in development hell literally I feel like since I was in high school, came out this past week. I will say right now reviews on Steam at least are mixed. However, I've been following just the game itself and kind of impressions of the game from people that are World of Darkness fans. So you got to be careful with Steam reviews. A lot of these people just saw this game was like the highest sold on Steam, so they just buy it. They have no idea this is a setting. I mean, this happens all the time. I'm not trying to cover
Right,
for them. I mean, I hear that the game needs some work still, but when the
right,
game moves through studio after studio and has the amount of problems that this game have, the fact that it's even out and playable and people are having fun with it is kind of an achievement on its own. Um,
mm-hmm.
they didn't charge full price for it, which I appreciate. And they do say like, hey, the Chinese room just picked this up less than a year ago. Basically, built the game out of the scraps of all the other studios, and they're continuing to work on it.
Good.
One thing I will shout out a huge plus for them. I don't know if it was probably from the publisher as usual, that they cut out half of the vampire clans and they wanted to charge for if you wanted to play one of the clans that they locked behind a paywall. You had to
Wow.
buy like a special edition of the game. So, but props to the Chinese room and people that were involved with the game in the latter half of the development cycle because they decided, hey, we're not gonna do that. So I'm sure as usual the publisher's like, hey, give us more money. You buy this special edition and get this, this, and this. And
Mm-hmm.
from what I understand, somehow the Chinese room backed that down right before the game came out. They made it so you didn't have to buy extra shit to get the clan that you wanted to be.
Good.
So, however they managed to work that, that is cool because people were like very mad about it, and then um, they were able to kind
Mhm.
of throw that away. So that's cool.
See that to me that's kind of what everybody complains about with Warhammer, right?
Hmm.
The Warhammer Online is the paywall
It's pay to
and the pay
win,
to
yeah,
play.
yeah.
And who wants to do that? I don't want to do that with a TTRPG or an RPG of any kind. I mean, I don't mind like a video game. I might buy a skin or something from time to time if it's something I really have to have, or it's like a holiday theme, something
Hmm.
like that. That's fine. But to take something that a game and take half the clans or half the classes or whatever
Hmm.
and lock it behind a paywall, knowing that these are popular clans or
And they
different
are, by the way.
subclasses,
They were
and
the
then
three big clans that everybody knows from the like the tabletop player handbook. They were like the
right,
Brucha and all these like larger clans that everybody wants to be. They were like, oh yeah,
right,
no. So the only main clan that was in the base game was the Nosferatu. Other than that, all the other ones were like the minor clans. So anyway, shout out to
and
whoever finally got them to listen to reason and stop that because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the game's out right now. A lot of people that are World of Darkness fans say the game's great. The opening 30 seconds of the game are hilarious. What's
Mhm.
cool about this game is you start as a vampire elder, so you don't start weak and then build up like every other game ever. You're actually
Right.
incredibly strong from the beginning, and
Okay.
you're awoken for a reason you don't yet know. And you wake up and a security guard is stopping you as you're trying to exit your hive, and
Okay.
you fight him and basically you punch him and he flies 300 yards across the warehouse and splatters against the wall. It's insane.
Right.
So yes, it's mixed reviews. However, anything I can get that's World of Darkness theme is good, and I'm sure they're gonna build it up and add more stuff. They've already got a few expansions ready to go. So very excited. The gameplay itself, just being able to run around free roam through the city and kind of fly through the air and do all kinds of stuff that the original Bloodlines was known for. Seeing that in modern day graphics is cool to see. I mean, this game was one of the games that a lot of people, including myself, kind of wrote off, because it was just in development. You didn't hear an update for it for like 3 years, so the fact that we even have it is cool. Not trying to cover for them. I hope they fix all the problems that people are having, but they're on the road to it. So at least now it's not, Star Citizen number 28, where it's like, oh, this game's coming when? Oh, we don't know.
We don't know.
It's out there now. They're taking criticism. They're talking to people. I'm in the Discord. The developers are in the Discord every day. So happy to see it.
Good. Good stuff. How about Deadlock? You mentioned
Oh,
that
yeah.
earlier before.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a last minute throw in because I've been playing it a little bit. So a lot of people probably aren't going to know what Deadlock is. It's actually only an alpha right now, closed alpha. I was invited, and it's called a MOBA, MOBA, which is multiplayer online battle arena. So think Dota 2, League of Legends, Smite, stuff like that, where it is pretty much a glorified tower defense. There's 3 lanes. Each team has a set of like auto turret towers that are fighting, and there are waves of like AI minions running down the lane. And basically, it is a strategy game where you're like trying to take more territory on the map than the enemy team takes, and eventually you get to their base and destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this one is significant, in my opinion, is number one, it's by Valve, who they made arguably the first MOBA. StarCraft came out from Blizzard,
Mm-hmm.
and then a mod that was Dota 1 came out, and then Valve, of course, runs Dota 2, which is that and League are the 2 biggest MOBAs. This is their next MOBA, and it's a third person. It plays more like Marvel Rivals than it does a MOBA, but it has MOBA themes to it. The
Right.
setting is very interesting. It's like a 20s, real world New York in the 20s. And basically, if you think about everything magic, cryptids, sorcerers, necromancers, zombies, all that shit, the way Deadlock starts its world is the Earth is normal until about 1920. And then something happened which opened a rift to the magical realm, which let in cryptids and all kinds of stuff into our world. So one of the
Okay.
characters is like just a normal guy who's like a police officer, and then like another character will be like, some detective that is a demon he's lived in America for 20 years, so he's basically just assimilated into our society. And the map is a steampunk 1920s New York that has like magical themes to it. The setting is so cool. I mean, like half of the fun of the game is running around through the open world map and kind of seeing just all the cool stuff that there is. It's almost like a BioShock vibe. But
Okay.
think of that movie with Will Smith. I think it was called Bright, where he was a
Right.
cop and his partner was like
Yeah.
an
It's
orc or
the orc.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like it's like fairy tales are real and stuff. It kind of has that vibe where like there would be a bartender and he's really like a goblin or something in the game. It's really cool. It's fun. But the gameplay is awesome. Like I said, it plays a lot like Marvel Rivals, and there isn't really a MOBA that's doing that. I think when this game comes out, it has already situated itself to be like a top competitive game. And if you follow competitive gaming at all right now, it's not doing well. Just games have become more casual, and people,
Yeah.
back when I was a kid, like competitive games like Halo was everything. Like that's what people wanted to do in games. And now it's like everybody's playing Fortnite, and it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. And so, and obviously recently, again, if you follow games closely, you'll know, but Counter Strike just flooded the market. Counter Strike's known for having a very defined third party um, you can get skins for guns, and they have like real world value. Like some of them are worth hundreds of dollars. And then overnight, they plummeted their own market by just dropping a bunch of skins you could buy in the shop for $5, $6. So there's people that are losing like hundreds of thousands of dollars in these basically NFT skins that are in the game. So, and like that whole scene right now is in shambles. So I think, if there can be a game that comes out that kind of captures that original Overwatch feel. I mean, really the only prominent game right now in competitive gaming, in my opinion, is like maybe Call of Duty still, but mostly like Marvel Rivals and Overwatch are kind of having a resurgence, and this game is primed as a MOBA to appeal to a more MOBAs are known as like the elitist game, where it's like it takes a lot of knowledge to even play one. Whereas this game is a third-person shooter. It's got really fun movement. There isn't defined roles or lanes. It kind of just picks two players and drops two in each lane. So it's a lot easier to learn. I mean, it's the game that I think if MOBAs are going to make a comeback, it's going to be Deadlock. And Valve obviously has all the money in the world with Steam and Dota and everything. So I've been having a lot of fun. I don't know when open betas are going to drop or anything. I got invited. It's completely private. Not that I'm special. I just somehow got it. So I'll drop maybe some footage, pictures, and stuff like that. Even if you're not into the game, the lore is super cool and some of the characters are awesome. I would highly advise just checking that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out whenever it comes into beta. So, I got excited when I saw that Halo is going to be put out next year on PlayStation 5. So
yeah,
I'm pretty excited to see that come out because I love that game.
that
was the only reason I really considered an Xbox. But, speaking of which, Xbox is going in the toilet. So we'll talk about that in another episode. What's going to be coming soon for the maze? Well, we're wrapping up our 31 Days of Halloween posts over on Instagram and our Halloween-themed monsters on the website. So for November, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about why we're thankful. Thankful not only for the podcast and you, our viewers, but what in gaming makes me thankful, what games specifically am I thankful for and thankful I've given an opportunity to play, things like that. We'll talk about those on the Instagram channel and on Facebook. We will be committing to weekly posts and blogs over on the website, just talking about November and what we're thankful for in the community and in the gaming world, and sharing that with you guys, and hopefully you'll share in return. I know with the website, we've seen a lot of uptick in traffic, which we're very happy about. We thank you if you're coming over to the website and checking it out. Hopefully you're sharing it with friends. We put a lot of work into that website, especially the apprentice. He is our IT guy. He is our web page master. He does it all. So
it's it ain't much, but it's our little corner of the internet to kind of post what we want. I mean, as you see with the videos, I mean, we started pretty small and we've gradually gotten better. That's because we started with no knowledge and we've gradually gotten a little more knowledge. We're not professionals. We don't have all the time in the world. So we're doing what we can. But we're having fun with it. It's a good time. It's fun to learn.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. In closing, Steven, you had a question you wanted to throw out here. For myself and for all the other people watching.
I thought it'd be interesting, talking about Halloween and stuff. Obviously the two worlds don't mesh unless we go the Secret Lair route and we do a slasher player handbook. But what what out of all the slashers, what do you think would make the best like campaign ending bad guy?
So, that's kind of hard to quantify because immediately the first one that jumps to mind is like a Freddy Krueger. A creature from the nightmare realm that maybe dwells in the Shadowfell, but he can creep into your dreams to manipulate things, manipulate people.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I personally lean towards Michael Myers. I like Michael Myers in the fact that, at first he was just a slasher, but the way that John Carpenter set him up, he never spoke. He was always quiet.
He's like a force of nature, right? Like he's almost I mean, he goes like you can see in the movies. He kind of goes from they started with an idea, and then as they go, he got like more. He like snowballed in terms of his power level, right? Whereas like to kind of bounce off of that in the game which we've talked about on the show, the game that they're making of Halloween, he has an ability. Like they've shown footage of how, like seemingly how in the movies, Michael is always like seems like he's one step ahead of everybody, and
Mhm.
it's like, well, we just saw him over here. How is he already over here? Well, in the Halloween
Right.
game, the player that's playing Michael Myers gets like this astral plane mode where he can like
Yeah.
snap out of reality and kind of move wherever he wants to, because that kind of
Right.
like he's the shape, right? That's how he's credited in the original Halloween movie at the end. It's almost
Right.
like they were setting him up to be like this character where it's like, yeah, he seems like a man, he seems like he's just a guy with a knife, but there's things even in the first movie that he was doing that were like unexplainable. Like, wait,
Yeah.
how did he get over there? How did he survive that fall? How is he still alive? And that could only be
Right.
expanded on in later movies, obviously. But anyway,
So I would say, like if you think of Michael, you can't really put a character class on him.
hmm
You could see, you would say, well, maybe barbarian with rage, but he doesn't really rage. He's angry, he's vengeful, but he's not rageful, right? He
hmm
doesn't just tear things apart blindly and out of anger and frustration. He is focused. I would say almost like a paladin of vengeance, but twisted and evil and dark. So it would be interesting if you guys have ever used Michael at your table, if you have stat blocks for him or how you envision him bringing him into the world of D&D, please share those. I would love to see them. I've had some thoughts myself. I like the planular shift thing. I could see like lair actions. He has the ability like to step into shadows and vanish and reappear somewhere within 120 feet if he can see it, where
mm
he can, he gets ambush on you, he gets advantage on an attack. Um, I could see him as a grappler. He likes to grapple people. He's obviously insanely strong. But there's lots of different things that I could see him utilizing. Think Bagman
hmm
with like a specialization in sharp objects. I mean, he loves his stabby pokey things. His knives, his
yeah.
spears, his fireplace
Well,
pokers. I mean,
a, f-
anything he can impale somebody.
a fun way to utilize a character like that too, in my only experience, is playing against him in Dead by Daylight when you're playing as a survivor and you have to play against him. He has a
Yeah.
mechanic in that game where normally in that game, killers just kind of run for their survivors right away, and they want to try to kill them as
Mm-hmm.
fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael plays a little differently, where he builds his power by stalking. So like the killer
Right.
character, if he's close to survivors and just staring at them and standing still, he gains
Mm-hmm.
like this ability bar. When it reaches maximum, he can move super fast, do all kinds of crazy shit. So how
Right.
cool would it be in like a D&D campaign where he could be the big bad character and maybe you don't even know he's there unless one of your guys hits like a perception check. So like
Oh yeah.
imagine you're like in a town, like, oh, this town, something horrible's happened here. It's called, Haddonfield, and like you go to this town or like
Yeah.
a play on Haddonfield in Faerun or
Right.
something, and you keep asking
Mm-hmm.
your characters, hey, roll a perception check. And there's like, oh, you didn't get it. Okay, well, anyway, you don't notice anything. You keep going.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the DM knows that that's like Michael sitting in the tavern upstairs, like staring at everybody
Yeah.
walk by.
Staring at him through the window
Yeah, I
as
mean
they walk
that's
by.
just like that'd be a fun like Halloween one shot, just kind of like a fun little kooky like a Easter egg
Yeah.
for people that love
Yeah.
the horror. And I was gonna throw one curveball in here just to wrap us
Mm-hmm.
up. Another fun one, not really a slasher, but a horror character would be maybe like some kind of evil parasite from like The Thing, where like then you're like one of your party is maybe compromised and is taken over by this evil parasite that's kind of assumed the form of one of your party members,
Right.
and the DM tells whoever it is, like, hey, by the way, you're this malevolent creature that is trying to assimilate all the other party members, but you don't want them to know it's you, and it's like you have
Right.
this whole, like, everybody's like, oh, wow, like, this whole town is destroyed by this thing. What happened? Like, it plays out like The Thing, the movie, but it's your party kind of like, wait a second, he didn't act like he normally does, and he went over here, and and that's kind of like, the party can, like, turn against each other.
Yeah. If you go over and check out Instagram, I posted a monster today. I don't recall the name of the monster off the top of my head, but it's a creature from Everon, and it's basically nothing. It has a face. It has a mouth like a lamprey. Um, it looks like a cross between a lamprey and like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, where
Mm-hmm.
its face splits open. But it's basically just all tentacles with these hooks on the end. And what this thing does is it invades you. It gets inside your body, either through your mouth or a wound or something like that. And it basically attaches itself to your brainstem. And then these four tentacles kind of reach out into your limbs and replaces your nervous system, which will kill the host eventually. But basically, what it does is it takes over the host, and now it has a body that it can walk
So
around. And
like that. So basically that thing. And that
yeah,
kind of like, or like that thing from Alien Earth, that little eyeball spider.
yeah,
That thing
yeah.
is,
Or kind
boy.
of like a Goa'uld. I compared it to a
Mm-hmm.
Goa'uld from Stargate because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
basically gets it through your mouth or through a cut in the back of your neck, and it attaches itself to your brainstem and your nervous system, and it basically controls you. It can
Mm-hmm.
shut down. It can lock away your personality and take over, and it speaks with your voice. It has access to your memories and your abilities, so people don't know that you have been replaced. That to me puts in that kind of that creepy horror theme where what you don't see is what you need to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with the Thing, I watched a video on 20 things you didn't know about the Thing. Like there was actually supposed to be a sequel which never got made because John Carpenter said, I want to leave it the way it is.
It was
You
perfect.
don't know when those last two guys are sitting there in the blown up base and they're like, "Well, you going to use that flamethrower on me?" Nah, I figured the cold's going to do us in anyway. You
It
don't
was
know.
great. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, are one or both of them the Thing, or are neither of them the Thing? You never find out. So I never saw the one from 2016. I don't have any interest in seeing it. I'm perfectly okay with the way John Carpenter's left off, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a great movie. Scared the hell out of me as a kid,
Oh,
especially the
dude.
dog scene where the
Yeah.
dog split open. Yeah, that just upset me so badly as a child. But anyway, enough about that. We will, if you have some Michael Myers stat blocks or some stat blocks from other slashers you'd like to share, we would love to see them. We will post them on Instagram and Facebook and on our webpage if you have them. We'd love to share them. Hit us up. Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Drop some comments below. Share this with your friends. Like the video if you liked it. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. We really do appreciate the support. It goes a long way and means the world to us.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we're going to wrap up this Halloween special of Lost in the Maze, episode 4. I screwed it up again, Steven. Sorry. I said
I
this is
wasn't
Maze
gonna
Cast
say it.
11. It's not
I,
Maze Cast 11. I apologize. I'm putting in the edit right now.
I was
Lost
gonna
in the Maze.
change the title. I was like, all right, we're just gonna do it.
Just fix it. We'll fix it in
Yeah,
editing where
yeah.
he'll put a little blooper
We're
up that
just
I
gonna
screwed
move.
it up again.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Lost in the Maze, episode number 4.
Yep.
So our Halloween special. So we'll fix that in editing. The apprentice has his work cut out for him as usual, cleaning up behind me. So we
All
hope you
right.
guys enjoyed this. Please check back with us. Um, Check us out on all of our socials. We'll have the links in the comment section below. Again, thank you for tuning in and sticking out with us as long as you have. We
Mm-hmm.
really do appreciate it. And we will see you guys back here next time in the maze.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.